Welcome back, everybody, to the Player's Edge tonight. Hold on a second. I have to get rid of the right screen here. For those watching, I apologize. I've got the wrong button pressed. There we go. Fortunately, on the podcast, you won't see that, but I had on the welcome for our guest from Prairie Meadows, but tonight she's
you won't see
in our part of town. She's near Chicago, where Tom and I live. We have Sophie Doyle from Prairie Meadows. Sophie, how are you today?
Hey, everyone. I'm great. Thank you. How are you all doing?
Doing great. Good. You just made that bug-infested trip from Iowa to Chicago, right? I've driven down that highway a few times, and it's just bug after bug on the windshield, no?
Yes, there is a lot, actually. And in the past couple of weeks, I've been making this trip a little bit on the frequent side, so I'm definitely scoring on the bugs, that's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, when I've driven through there, it's definitely a shower of bugs for certain. Now, that's something you do a lot. You travel between Churchill and Arlington and Prairie Meadows. Does that kind of wear you out sometimes, or are you getting used to it?
It does at the beginning when you're not used to doing as much traveling and you're kind of in one spot, like I have been for the winter when I was at Houston. I lived 10 minutes from the track. And then prior to that, I was at Remington and I only lived 15 minutes from the track, and I wasn't able to do much traveling around from there. But now I'm up at Iowa. I think I've got the traveling over 9 hours down pretty good now, and managed to make the whole trip without having to stop and take a long nap, as I did the first time when I went down to ride Holy Vow on Derby Day. On my drive back, I ended up pulling over and taking a 4-hour nap somehow. Now I managed to make it all in one trip, so I've definitely conquered the trips, that's for sure.
Yes. Well, you made a big trip. Your career started over in England, right?
Yes, it did. It started in England over, I think about 14, 15 years ago now. And I rode in England for 7.5 years, raced at almost every single racetrack in England, apart from the new ones that are now built in England. Then I raced in America, Dubai. I raced in Dubai for 2 winters before I then moved over to America. But I actually only rode track work the first couple of years. I went over to Santa Anita. And then when I decided to move over to America, then I started racing over here. And it would be actually 8 years in August since I left England now.
Ooh, time goes by fast, right?
Yes, it does indeed.
Our resident international horse expert is the gentleman down in the bottom right-hand corner. That's 22-1, Tom. Are you 53? Did you hit a 53-1 shot, Tom?
Yep, I did. So was happy this week.
That's the old
helps pay the book bills that I seem to have too much of right now.
Mm-hmm. For sure. How are you doing otherwise? Pretty good?
Hanging in there. Sophie, have you ever thought about riding quarter horses?
I think my debut almost came last year when I won on a thoroughbred filly called Drip Brew, which I actually won my first ever quarter-mile race of my life. And she actually broke the North American track record in the time of 19.93. So I think that's as close to a quarter horse as I can get with that sort of time. And I've actually ridden one quarter horse many, many years ago when I actually got invited to go and watch a match race for the first time, and then got asked, hey, would you like to get on one of these? So I said, sure, why not? I'll break one from the gate. That was a huge experience. I wouldn't mind if someone had a really nice one that was running for some of those nice big purses that they have. And I knew they were pretty solid and ran straight and didn't do anything like left and right like I've seen them do a few times. It would be fun to do it. But, sorry. I think definitely.
That's kind of how some of those horses run right there.
Yes. Yes. But in the meantime, no, I think I'll stick to the thoroughbreds, and hopefully I can get a chance to ride a few more quarter-mile races while I'm here at Prairie Meadows again.
Mm-hmm. And then we have Terry. He's out on the West Coast. Terry Hollywood Hay, because he got profiled pretty nicely on TVG with Rich Perloff. Terry, how are you tonight?
Hey, I'm doing really good. Hi, Sophie. How are you doing?
Hey, great. Thank you. How are you?
Good. Hey, I had a quick question. Do you see
Sure.
a big Yeah. Do you see a big difference? I know there's a big difference between riding in England and riding here in the States because I was watching something on YouTube about you. But I wondered, how do you see a big difference between riding in, say, California versus the East?
Yes, definitely. And I mean, obviously, I think speed is very different over here than it is over there. You know, everybody. I remember the first race I ever rode at Santa Anita was the 5.5 down the hill. And oh my word, I had never ever been so fast at the early part of a race and going downhill. And then horses were still finishing off at the times that they were running. And I thought that was just incredible to be a part of, to never mind to watch it, but to be in a race with them doing that. It was definitely fun and definitely on the thrilling side. I think being over this side of the pond right now, and I suppose this side of America, it is a little different, and you can ride a lot more tactical races. And the dirt is so different over this side compared to Santa Anita as it was back in 2014, 13 when I first moved there. So I've definitely, since I've moved up to Prairie Meadows, I've adapted a little bit more speed riding than where I would like to sit in some races. But as I always do my races and my horses, I always like to ride the race to suit the horse.
And then over here, you see our man, Shawn, who you've been communicating with. He runs the 100-yard dash in 19-1.
Yeah, maybe. Lucky. Hi, Sophia. Question for you. What tracks, since you've been at so many tracks, what tracks are your favorite?
My favorite tracks were definitely, my most favorite track in America is definitely Churchill. And that's because Churchill Downs was the very first American track that I ever got to watch and fell in love with while watching the Breeders' Cup. I then got to ride my first North American winner at Churchill, and then won my first stake race at Churchill as well. So it's one of my most favorites. And then, of course, right now I'm riding at Prairie Meadows, so that would be second on my list.
And then my other question would be, what horse do you prefer? Do you prefer a speed horse, or do you prefer a closer? Like, which horses do you feel most comfortable riding?
I would definitely say a horse that comes closing, most notably with the ride that I had with Street Band in the Cotillion. I think it's a pretty thrilling to be able to pass up horses when you're in such a high-class caliber race as a Grade 1 like that. And just when you have so much horse underneath you, you can watch a race unfold in front of you while you're sitting back there just enjoying the ride and getting to take it all in. And then to be able to ride a finish and have a horse finish with you with so much power is just incredible. Whereas a horse that's on the front end, they have to have a lot of gas in the tank to go that early speed, and then to be able to put everybody else to bed and still finish. And it can be a little bit boring when you're out there in front by yourself and you don't see anybody. So you just kind of feel like you're the lone wolf and everyone is chasing you.
Mm-hmm. I thought you were going to say your favorite kind of horse is the winner.
Hey, as long as they're winning, it doesn't matter where they come from. That is the best kind.
Listen, Zulima DeWitz says, "Bravo, Sophie, bravo." So we're with her. So let's see if we can get some bravos for our picks. So we're going to be covering races 5, 7, 8, and 10. Those are all races that Sophie has a mount in. So we'll start off with race number 5, and that is see if it opens up. Here we go. We have a claiming $10,000, 1 mile on the main track. So when you're looking at the 1 mile on the main track, Sophie, are there any particular biases that the jockeys and the riders are looking at?
For me, particularly, I always look at the riders, who's riding the races, what sort of horses they're riding on. Are they on a speed horse, horses that come from mid-pack or come from way out of it? Usually look to see which horses are stepping up, stepping down in class, and if there are any winners in the races, what's their time frame for winning at the distance of the race.
Okay, so you're on the 2-horse, right? Black the Blue?
Yes, I am.
And you rode the horse last time. I got out to a big lead and kind of did you let up because you had such a big lead, or did the horse kind of get tired?
No, the horse actually, I had galloped the horse previously. I'd got on him one time just to have a feel of him. Just they weren't going to breeze him in between races. So I said, look, do you mind if I get on him so I can have a feel? Because his last start, he got previous to me winning on him, he was beaten 15 3/4 lengths. So, we wanted to just give him the once over and see what we thought, and gave them the green light. And this horse actually really performed really well for me. He got out of the gate really nicely. There was actually some inside speed. I didn't have the lead the entire time at the beginning. And then we had a little bit of pressure on our outside, which then put me up a little bit in front. And then the horse that was in front backed off. He completely stopped by the time we hit the half-mile pole. So that put us up in front. And this horse just kept on running for me. He was literally running through the bit and taking me all the way. And when I started to get after him, this horse just laid his ears back and definitely was not letting anybody past him. So I just kept him up to his business and let him go about winning the race in the fashion that he seemed to really like to do. So, that's something as a rider that when you kind of have to go with the one with the second that you get on and get out the gate, is letting the horse tell you what he's comfortable doing. Mm-hmm. And this definitely was a classic case of that.
Yeah, and I actually noticed that in the past, before he was claimed, that he was trying to run a different style. And once you got on the horse, you changed the style that he was running. He actually broke closer to the front and tried to lead all the way. And I think that was really important.
Yeah, I think it definitely was. And the first part of the race, the fractions were very slow. So when a horse naturally, I always like to let a horse naturally break and let them go forward and then take them into a position if I have to. But when the pace was slow, I don't want to take the race away from him and drag the horse back to the middle of the pack where he'd been running or further back. To me, you're just taking the race out of him when you're going that sort of pace. So I just let the horse be comfortable. He was very happy being there and seemed to be really enjoying himself. So, with the way his previous race went, I thought, well, let's just be encouraging and keep the horse being forward. And he seems happy. So I just let him enjoy himself.
Right, so that probably the plan for this upcoming race too. Just if the horse gets out, let him get out and go after it. And who do you see as the main competition?
Well, looking through a couple of them, some horses are dropping. And I think anything that Kylie Jordan, the new Bug Girl, is riding has always got a definite shot. With the horses seem to naturally run very well for her. And then my horse is actually, he's stepping up in class. So we've got to go with going from 3,500. He won for 5. Now he's stepping back up to 10 again. And Carl Broberg's got a horse in here, which I've ridden before, Sweet Persuasion. Mm-hmm. Who was, he ran for 12.5 with me. Didn't really go too well as planned. But then he came back and he won at 3/4, being right there, pressing the lead all the way. And now Carl stepped him back up in trip to a mile, but dropping him down in class. So that's definitely one that you will have to watch there. But I think really and honestly, I'm the one to beat in the entire race. I think everybody's got to be worried about me.
So Terry, is she the one to beat?
Well, it was hard for me, and I kept changing my mind on this. But I actually, as my top pick, I like Domicate. Has the best speed, dirt speed among today's starters. In addition, she has the highest last speed rating in the race. And then I like number 6, Sweet Persuasion. Likes the distance and the track. And during his career, he finished in the money 43% of the time, winning 27% of those entries. He has a hot jockey trainer right now. They're really been hot in the last 14 days. They're out of 12 combinations. They won 5, second once and third twice. And then I like number 2, Back the Blue. Was claimed, of course, before last race, and then jockey changed to Sophie. It appears that they used a different running style, as I said, and won the race. And I think that she can go to the front and lead all the way again. So to me, it's a tough race. So.
I agree with you. What about you, Shawn? How do you see it playing out?
So I actually saw the 5 Iowa Native and number 6 Sweet Persuasion going for the lead, and the 2 Back to Blue would probably sit off those 2. The one Dominicate's going to be the one closing a lot of ground late. I went with Sweet Persuasion as a top pick. Sophie kind of explained already that,
Definitely throw my race out when I rode him.
Yeah.
Just put a line through that one.
Carl Broberg can do kind of whatever he wants. His horses win. This horse has won 3 of 5 races at this distance of a mile. And the 10K claiming is the lowest level this horse has been for over a year. His speed should be really effective in this race from the outside. And then I went with Domicate because that's going to be the horse that's going to close from the speed duel. And another Carl Broberg horse. He has finished in the exact in 11 of 24 career races at Prairie Meadows. And he's the veteran of this group. This will be his 70th career race. And then I went with number 2, Back to Blue, jumping up in class, but did win last race and should be close to the pace again. And maybe if he does sit third and the other 2 dominate, he could pass them and win that way.
How about you, Tom? Any 50 to 3 to 1 shots for us on Saturday?
Well, I don't know about that, but we're going to try it with Mummy Can't Buy Me Love. This is a horse that they were claimed for $5,000 at Houston. They have one win with the horse. They've been running it again in optional claimers and in claiming races. A little cheaper than here, but are they? This is now dropping into a state bred race versus running an open company. One fact that's really important with this horse, all the wins of this horse have been at 1 mile and around 2 turns. So that, the jockey and trainer, not the greatest percentage, like none, but we'll see what happens. In my angle, I always like to watch anything that's dropping into a state bred after working with open company for the most part, because the value, to me, a 10 value to a 5 value in state breds, they're running for more money generally, but I don't see much difference. One that Sophie Doyle's on too, the Back to Blues, is the same type of deal. You got to put it more with what it's done rather than what it's raced against, in my mind. Mm-hmm. I did take Domicate as my second choice of the Roberts 2 entries. I think this one is my preference. This 9-year-old still seems to be able to get it done. He's had 2 good races. The thing is, he likes to finish in the money more than he likes to win. Mm-hmm. And I think he really needs to be within 3-4 lengths of the leaders to have any chance here. My final choice is, going back with a little bit of a price, is number 3, That's What I Say. Raced most of its career against state breds at all kinds of different levels, from restricted allowances to claimers and I just think he was over his head the last 2 races in starting this year, racing this year. And I think back with state claimers, this horse should have a nice chance in this race.
Yeah, I agree with most of what you guys had to say. I in the beginning, Shawn, I'm with you. I do see Iowa Native and Sweet Persuasion and Back to Blue as the ones leading the charge early, and then Money Can't Buy Me Love, and That's What I Say, and Domicate, the ones that have the best late pace. So I think everything's going to come down to how if it's a fast start, the closers will probably win. If they get to have modest fractions, I think the horses up front can win. I'm going with Domicate, Sweet Persuasion, Back to Blue, and Money Can't Buy Me Love. You guys have all said all that needs to be said about those horses, so no need to add much to it. So let's go ahead and move to race number 7, which is a stakes race. It is the Iowa Distaff, mile in the 16th. It also starts on the front side, goes around twice, and here you were on Instant Counsel, right? The 3-horse, right, Sophie?
Yes, I am. I'm on Instant Counsel for Larry Jones and Brenton Jones.
And what do you think your chances are in that spot? Who do you see as the main competition in the race playing out?
I think honestly it's between myself and the 4-horse of Brad Cox, Josie. Mm-hmm. Josie won last time, but yet again off slow early fractions, got an easy lead and nobody could catch up to her. Whereas Instant Counsel didn't get the best of trips the last time that she ran. She hit a lot of traffic, and once she gets bumped, that's it. It's game over. So that one, I just kind of throw that race out. And then going back to previous races, she ran second in allowance. And then when I last rode her in the She's All In the stake at Remington, I got boxed in pretty badly and couldn't get out. And when I finally did get out, I mean, she was the winner. I should have won that race comfortably, but unfortunately, as a lot of jockeys know, sometimes you can just as easy get boxed in a 4-horse race as you can in a 14-horse field. And it was just one of them races that I just couldn't go anywhere with. Everywhere I tried to go, it just didn't happen. And for a horse that doesn't like to get bumped and try again, she actually ran her heart out for me. And I've noticed every time a female has been on her, Chantel Sutherland won on her twice. One was at Ellis by 10 3/4 lengths, and she previously won at Oaklawn with Kelsey Hart, a bug girl, on her. And then she almost won with myself aboard. I think looking at it today, and when I saw her when in the receiving barn, the shipping barn this morning, she looks fantastic. And Larry Jones and we've always done so well together that I really think this race is probably going to set up nicely for her, and we'll get a really nice trip. And I think she'll be the one to beat.
Yeah, Shawn, do you think that she's the one to beat?
I don't have her as my top pick, but I kind of see the number 3 sitting the same way behind the number 1 and Himiko and number 4, Josie. I took Josie. She's won 2 of her last 3 races after winning only 1 of her first 10. If you take out her 1 turf start, she's finishing the exact 7 of 12 races, and she is a versatile horse. She doesn't need the lead, but I think she'll be pretty close to it, if not on it here. Himiko, this horse has faced a lot tougher. Should be on the lead or close to it from the rail. She's stretching out as she has never gone any further than 7 furlongs. And then the number 3, the only concern would be 0 for 9 the last 2 years. But she always does seem to be there. And Sophie put out a good note there that I didn't even take notice to about the female riders, which that's a good question to ask too. Do they respond differently? Just different touch?
Some of the females can. Some of the mares just like a different kind of handling. You know, it's not always about strength in the saddle, and it's about finesse. And this filly clearly runs for females. That she's ran some fantastic races. Not every race she had done, but then she did step up into a lot of good class when she ran in the Dogwood and the Raven Run at Grade 2. And she definitely didn't get the best of trips in the Raven Run at Keeneland. She got bumped around, lost position, ended up running backwards, and just didn't really seem to take to racing that day. And her previous race in the Dogwood, she was behind Kofefi. So she's ran against some really nice horses in those 2 races. And then after that, she didn't get another female rider until I rode her in the She's All In. And then after that, it's been all the guys on board. But she clearly does do her best running when one of us girls are on board, and she seems to like our touch.
It also does seem, looking at it now, lately she kind of runs to her odds. If she's really high odds, she's not competitive. And if she's one of the favorites, she's right there. So she should be one of the favorites, so she'll be tough here.
And definitely one thing you have to take into account is her weight that she's got in at 114. One of the lightest in the fields, which the fact I have 109 to do that day, she definitely will be getting 114. So she's on the light side and going 2 turns. That's always a massive advantage. I feel that when you've got a lightweight going 2 turns, it's a big help.
Tom, you have a lightweight going 2 turns, or your picks are just lightweight?
Matter of opinion. I did take Sophie's horse, the number 3 Ishtan Consul. I like Larry Jones, the way he prepares horses, especially at the fairgrounds, because he can pull rabbits out of the hat there and with some nice prices. This is not going to be a big price, but I don't see it as the favorite. She just got crunched, the best way to describe in the Churchill race. And then she looked completely out of sorts the first furlong, maybe a little longer. So I just tossed the race out. I'm not thrilled with the draw of being 3. I'd rather see her outside. I think she does a little better from there. But depending on where Sophie can put her, I think she's got a good chance. I also like her races at Oaklawn. I think she's done well. Yeah, she hasn't won in 2 years, but she's been facing some decent horses. And that this doesn't have that quite that quality in my mind.
Mhm.
The works to me stuck out too. 59 and change in the last 4 works really says that horse has got a chance. And I did like the ride at Remington. I rewatched it, and yeah, you were in trouble all the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
It wasn't one of my finest moments, but sometimes that's racing. That's the whole game. Not everybody's out there to give you a free pass when you're riding around. So when you're on one of the favorites and look like you can win, that makes life even tougher. And it was just one of those unfortunate situations. But I'm hoping that we'll redeem ourselves on Saturday and put Larry Jones and Sophie Doyle back on top again.
yeah, we're hoping so too. So good news for you is that usually when we have a jockey on, the next time they're out, or at least the races that we're discussing, they have a very good day. So I'd expect you to have a nice day at Arlington tomorrow, and then an even better day on Saturday at Prairie Meadows.
Absolutely.
Jose
Definitely.
Ortiz did okay after being on the show.
Yeah, he did great. The only one that didn't do good was David Cabrera, and I felt so bad because we told him you're going to do good, and he was smiling from ear to ear, and he's loved it. But he seems to be a very positive guy no matter what. Terry,
Quickly,
you're a
my
positive guy no matter what. Where are you picking here?
Well, I agree with a lot of what everybody said. I like number 3, Instant Council. She lost all chance last race. She was bumped, and then she was very ranked going into the first turn. And I watched 2 or 3 of her races in the past, and she seems to not like going into that first turn and don't feel comfortable. But I think that with Sophie on board, because Sophie last December only lost by a neck with the horse, so she seems to really respond for Sophie. And I love her 4 bullet works that she's had in a row. So I think with Sophie on the horse, she's going to win this race. And I agree with Sophie. I think, I've been going to the races for over 60 years, and it seems to me, especially in the smaller tracks, that the women jockeys are a lot better at riding those smaller tracks. And I think it's because horses can sense that they're more of an emotional type of a human being. And then I like number 5, Bless Again. He's against a lot of speed in the race, and that allows her to win using her closing skills. She has several nice workouts and a great trainer jockey combination. And then I like number 1, Himiko. Won her last race at Churchill Downs and stretches out today. And I think that'll just benefit her during her career. She's finished in the money 75% of the time, winning 38% of those entries.
For me,
they paid $1 million for that horse, and she's bred to go longer, and I don't quite understand why they've been keeping her at the shorter distances.
Mm-hmm. Well, my fear is Himiko, that $1 million horse that you mentioned. I did make a note of that too. Is that I feel like maybe Himiko can get out and shake loose to a lead and get in front of a lot of the field here, even though there is some speed. I think Blessed Again, Josie, and Tilting at Windmills probably be near in the front. I think at the end, you're definitely going to be coming the hardest with Instant Council. Josie and Himiko also have some pretty good late pace numbers. So I think you're going to have to maybe chase down a few horses that are in front of you for sure. I have Blessed Again. The horse ran it the first time ever, blew away the field last time. I know stepping up in class pretty aggressively, but was full of run, ran away from a field at 4 3/4 lengths. I usually see big races are typically followed by another big race, big run on the first time at Prairie Meadows, maybe a horse for the course. I mean, we'll know for sure. Then I have Himiko, I have Instant Council, and Josie to round out my top 4 picks. That brings us to the next stakes race on the card, which is race number 8, the Iowa Sprint. This is 6 furlongs on the main track. And Sophie, when you're running 6 furlongs at Prairie Meadows, it seems like speed is a little bit more of an important factor than maybe in the routes.
Yes, it definitely is. It's definitely this race I actually won. I won last year on DeRapper against Welder. And I did say to myself that in order for DeRapper to win this race against Welder, he has to run almost a 108 flat.
Mm-hmm.
And that was, I think it was 108 and 3. that he ran in. And he identically ran his race the same as he did the previous year when he won. So this year I'm on quick tempo for Chris Davis, and this horse has got a lot of natural early speed. And the best thing about his speed is that it doesn't stop. He carries himself pretty well. I did go and work the horse out at Arlington a couple of weeks ago just to get on board him. Chris said, I really want you to come and get a feel of this horse because he is pretty quick. And he can have a little bit of awkwardness to him with the way he is and the way he acts. So he just wanted me to get a feel of him, which is the best thing that you can go and do. And I love to know my horses before we're going into races, especially a race of this caliber. So I'm really looking forward to being on him. Now, the speed factor is going to be interesting because there's a lot of other nice looking horses in here with some natural speed, but they tend to be speed when they're running against state bred. But I feel like the way quick tempo is in his races early on, that I think he'll be able to just take a natural lead and everybody will have to just sit and try and get their horses to relax and finish, hopefully, unless somebody's going to be trying to press me. But I think this horse has got so much speed that he's going to be a very tough one in the race.
Yeah, I see that a lot of bullet workouts there at Arlington before coming on over. And I do in my pace analysis, I do have quick tempo as the fastest horse. I've projected at the leader at the quarter pole. So I expect to see you at the lead, hopefully all the way around the track. I do agree with you. There's a ton of speed in this race. So it could open the door if the pace gets a little bit out of hand. Tom, do you have a closer on top, or are you going to play the speed here?
No, I got to go with the speed. And I went with Empire of Gold, number 6. The last race out, you want a speed duel, go watch that race because he dueled and then lost by 7 3/4 lengths at Lone Star. Well, Lone Star tends to be hard and fast. This was ridiculous. And there's no way he's going to win that race. He's going to get pressed, but it just depends on how hard he gets pressed. And I do think Quick Tempo is the 3-year-old in here that's going to do it. But Quick Tempo hasn't faced Whitmore and CZ Rocket either. Those are pretty good horses.
Not bad.
And they're, of course, not in this race. They're at Saratoga for a reason. He didn't show his best in the last 2 races, so I'm really hoping that the real Empire of Gold shows up here. And if he runs a race he's ran against those top 2, he's going to be tough in here. I did take number 7, Quick Tempo. I like the work, 34 breezing. That's nice blowout work to prepare for this race. Hasn't run since December, so they've obviously needed to get some good foundation under this horse and works, and I think they've done a decent job. The only race that I don't like that they ran was the turf race up in Canada, and I just tossed that race out. The rest of them have been very nice races on the dirt. Tough spot to make a seasonal debut in a stakes race, but I see it in the money. I see it hanging on for something. And one of my old favorites, Mojo Man, is out there, and he's won 7 out of 8 at 6 furlongs. He's run against some of these horses before, and he seems to like to hit the board or do something. But he can also have adventures too, and his last race at Churchill was an adventure. But for him to come from way back to finish 4th was unbelievable because he doesn't usually run that way. So normal running style was out that race. I think if he gets a better break, he's definitely going to be in the money. I just don't know if he can win.
Who do you think is going to win, Terry?
Well, I like a long shot. I like number 3, Greeley and Ben. He's going up in class, but I love playing horses that are climbing the class ladder. And he finished 76% of the time in the money during his career, winning 52% of those races. He's going for his 5th win in a row, and he has a high percentage trainer and jockey. And then I like number 1, Special Reserve. He's on top form, winning 3 out of 4 starts in 2021. And he's coming in from Pimlico and dropping in class for today's race. And then I like number 7, Quick Tempo. Likes today's distance, winning twice with 2 starts at this distance. He's returning after a 6-month layoff, but has several good works in preparation for his return to the races. And then number 6, Empire of Gold, shortens up after leading most of the way and then fading to third in his last race. I think dropping back from 6.5 furlongs to 6 furlongs will be really good for him. And he has been having a good year, finishing 75% of the time in the money and winning 25% of those races.
All right, Shawn, and where are you at?
I'm with Mojo Man, number 5. There's lots and lots of speed in this race. Every horse in this race has some history of getting out to the front, even number 5, Mojo Man. But whoever can sit off the pace, I think, is going to be your winner here. And if you look at some of Mojo's Man's history, he has closed and done well. And like Tom said, he really closed at Churchill the last time out, too. Martin Garcia has won 2 of 4 races while aboard this horse, 7 of 18 at the distance in the career. And then I use number 7, Quick Tempo, for second. Won 3 of 5 career races with a second, and the only bad one was the turf. You throw that out, it's 3 of 4, and he's 2 of 2 at the distance. The 6.5-month layoff was a concern, but the fact that he's working out well, I'll go with it. And a nice morning line price at 12-1. And then number 1, Special Reserve, won 3 of the last 4 races. The only horse in this race with a triple figure buyer figure of 100, which was last time out. And great connections with Junior Alvarado and Michael Maker. And I'll note, so I'm going 5-7-1, but I'll note number 7, Quick Tempo at 12-1, and the number 7 horse is sounding a lot like historically last week, number 7, who we all kind of mentioned, only Tom put him on top. That horse ended up winning, so this horse might be that horse.
Might be that horse, the repeat of last week. I like. I'm with you, Terry. The Greeley and Ben's 3 for 3 at Prairie Meadows. That's clearly a horse for the course, and hit the board in 9 out of 10 at the distance. That's a pretty good thing. I do like Special Reserve, the one horse, the only horse in the field. In fact, of all the races that we are covering today, it's the only horse that actually ran a speed figure last time out, greater than par for winning at that race. I have Quick Tempo, Mojo Man. If speed's holding up, then I think Quick Tempo is the 3rd place horse. If closers are coming in because the pace is a little bit too hot, then I have Mojo Man. So I would play them both kind of in that 3rd spot, depending upon how the track is playing. I do think there's a lot of speed potential in this race. I have 5 horses, the 7, the 6, the 8, the 1, and the 4. I think they're all going to try to get to the front, and that can open the door for some of the closers. Mojo Man will be probably coming the hardest late. Greeley and Ben, he's another horse that will be coming late. Hidden Ruler and Special Reserve also have a little bit of late kick. So I think that's going to be an interesting kind of barbell race. Some fast ones in the front, some not so fast ones in the back, and they'll kind of meet somewhere towards the end, and we'll see which holds on. And finally, we're going to close out our handicapping with race number 10. That is another 6 furlong race. It's allowance $31,500. Again, 6 furlongs. And Sophie, in this race, I think you're on one of the top favorites, number 4, and that is, let's get down there, Heritage Park. I think you are the favorite, right?
Yeah, it says on him at 5-2 morning line, so definitely he ran a pretty smart race the last day.
And do you think that you're the one to beat again?
Hey, you got to go out there thinking that you can win on them all. Otherwise, what chance have you got, right?
None, right? There's a saying that those who think they can and those who think they can't, they're usually right.
Yeah, I like to think I can every time. This horse last time was the first time I'd ever sat on him. And he had actually been running with a lot of speed. And his previous race, he showed speed. He backed up the last bit. He chased some speed that didn't play out to him his way. And then previous to that, he'd been running on top at 21 and 45, and then managed to win by 2 for his last 2 starts prior to that one. But this race here, his last race, there was so much speed in the race. And I honestly thought Coco Tiger, who I've ridden and won on a few times, I thought him and That's a Fact Jack were going to be the 2 to go. But Coco Tiger didn't break as sharp as he did, so I decided to enjoy the middle of the track while I could and make life a little bit tougher for him. And it played into our advantage because then the inside speed was able to go along without having to pressure each other. I don't like to be head and head on top of each other when you've got enough speed going on, because then you're both just running with the throttle out and leaves nothing at the end. So I managed to stay pretty wide, then drop in for the turn. By that time, then the leader had been using his gas to keep his head up there, and my horse seemed to settle beautifully just off the pace like that. And then he really ran with a lot of guts in the finish, and he ran really nicely. And so I'm really looking forward to riding him again on Saturday.
Yes, I agree. I think from my pace analysis, I think you have a chance to shake free maybe and get a little bit ahead of everybody else. It seems to me that the horse's early pace is a little bit better than the next wave at 2.5, the 6, and the 3. So I wouldn't be surprised at all to see you get out a length and a half on everybody else, and then not really have to run that fast, like you mentioned, the kind of that head-to-head race, and then have some late kick in there to get to bring it home. And then for you, Shawn, who do you think is going to bring home our last race of the night?
So I do have Heritage Park as my top pick. I see a bunch of speed in here, and the only horse I saw that wants to be far off the pace would be number 1, Sun Squall. Heritage Park, though, has won 3 of his last 4 races, won 4 of 9 races at the distance, likes Prairie Meadows in 2 starts, has a win in a second. I use Sun Squall for second. With so much speed and being the only closer, I would think this horse gets in the exotics, and has finished second 2 out of 3 races at Prairie Meadows. In 5 of 8 races so far this year, he's been in the exacta as well, and was just claimed by Kelly Martinez and her husband Armando Martinez will be aboard. Armando Martinez, we know from Fauna Park last year, was just lighting it up. So good jockey there. And then number 7, Drill's Little Man for third. Has a nice spot to be on the outside with all the speed, so you can see what exactly to do to go front or just sit off. This will be a 3rd race in a row at Prairie Meadows, and so far has had a 1st and 2nd.
Mm-hmm. And then for you, Mr. Tom, where are you heading to close out the night?
Well, I landed on number 6, Mr. Charpeau. Yeah, he ran at 30K last time out and won big. He did get himself in some trouble at the starting gate, but still was able to overcome that. So I like that. He's 2 for 4 at Prairie Meadows, and I think he can sit a little bit off the lead if he has to win. I look at this as a similar race he ran last time because of the price, and he qualifies for this horse because he's the non-winners of one other than. So puts him in this, and he retains his form. I think he wins. Number 7, Little Drill's Man. I think the jockey made a mistake and took the wrong horse. But saying that, this jockey trainer combination in the last 60 days has won 33% of their races. 78% of them are in the money. That's only 18 mounts.
Mm-hmm.
So that's
and a nice ROI too, $1.18. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, very nice. I mean, moving up from starter allowances, I think it has the speed to compete here. It is a class up, but with the trainer's seems to have a hot hand right now, and you got to watch the hot hand. Plus, he's got the top jock on the grounds. Of course, I got to take a long shot, throw him in here. Number 2, Take Me Up Brady. Last out, 40-1 for state breds, finished second. Now he moves to open company, and that was his first start of the year. He looked good. I think I like the way he's going to run here. I think he fits, and I like the fact that he's run 9 out of his 16 races at Prairie Meadows. He's been in the money, and I'm just looking to fill out that trifecta. So that's my horse.
All right, and then Terry, you get I get to close the show, but you get to tell us what you like here.
Yeah, I like the number 4 Heritage Park. It has the highest speed figure at today's distance. In addition to that, it has the highest or fastest dirt speed among the today's starters. He's finished 100% of the time in the money during this year, winning 50% of those races. And Sophie returns to ride after winning last race on Heritage Park. So I think that's a really good one there. Number 1, Sun Squall has been having a good year, finishing 75% of the time in the money, winning 25% of those races. He'll be closing with a rush from deep and should get in the exotics. And then Drill's Little Man has the best last speed rating, and he has a high percentage trainer jockey combination. He won easily in his last race at Prairie Meadows. And then I like Delta's Data Storm. He's run 2 races in a row, won 2 races in a row, and is going for a hat trick. His early running style should benefit him here. And the way I would play the races is I would use the 5th through the 10th, and I'd play several pick 3s and one pick 4. So.
Yeah, and we'll have all those picks for you available on the Horse Racing Radar, as we always do. Our picks in the nice little Excel thing to make it easy for you, write-ups and all that kind of stuff. So all that'll be in there, the plays, the picks, all that's in there as always. I think Sophia is going to close the show with a win. I think Heritage Park is the class horse in the field. I do think it'll run a little bit to form. Drill's Little Hitman, I misspoke, is the favorite, and I misspoke a second time. It's another horse that ran a speed figure above par last out. So 2 mistakes for me, no more. I'm done for the year. And then I have Data Storm and Sun Squall to round out my 4 picks. To close our picks for today, Sophia, we 100% appreciate you coming on the Players Edge podcast. If people want to follow you on social media, where do they find you?
I've pretty much got a lot of social media going, but mainly I like to use my Twitter account and Instagram as well. So they're my 2, but mainly Twitter is the most focused one that I have.
Okay, and we'll include those in our story, so you'll be able to find. We'll put Sophie's Twitter handle on there so you can follow her. If you're in the Chicagoland area, like Tom and I, tomorrow you're going to be riding at Arlington Park. And if you're in the Chicagoland area, for those watching that don't know, this is the last year of racing at Arlington Park before the Chicago Bears play there. Apparently, I didn't think they would, but that's I think what's going to happen. Shawn, if people want to follow us online, socialize, where can they do that?
Horse Racing Radar on Facebook and Twitter. And then also for like videos and stuff, YouTube now, we're on Horse Racing Radar too. So hit the subscribe button there. For everybody, it's just simple, like Horse Racing Radar, Facebook, Twitter, and subscribe on YouTube. It's just a click of a button for you guys, and it means a lot to us. So we appreciate it. And
yeah, the one thing too I have to say, and I know from talking with everybody here, we've learned so much from the guests that we have on that I think is very, very important. For example, this evening, something Sophie brought up that I had not heard before is look for horses that are carrying a little bit less weight around 2 turns, that it's huge. I don't know about you guys, but I had never heard that before. So that's another thing that I'll be adding to my list of thousands of things to look through when I pick a horse, for sure. Tom and I will be back tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Central, 10 a.m. Eastern. We'll be talking a little bit of international horse racing. Perhaps maybe even Sophie's brother might be in some of those races, I think. Isn't that right, Tom? What are we covering?
We are looking at races from Haydock, St. Cloud, and Sandown. The big race unfortunately has 4 horses, but there are 2 or 3 of them are very interesting, and that is the Corral Ellipse Group 1 race at 1.25 miles, and we'll get to take a close look at Mistreef and see if he can pull this one out.
And then my friend Terry and I, not this Monday, but the following Monday, we're going to start a daily show Monday through Thursday, where we're going to have some best bets, some pick 4s, talk a little bit about horse racing news. That'll be Monday through Thursday. Tom and I will be doing the international show. As always, we'll have the Players Edge podcast on Thursday night. Shawn and I will be highlighting some Breeders' Cup win in your in races tomorrow. So it's a full slate. If you like horse racing, we've got you all covered. Again, Sophia, we appreciate you coming. We wish you nothing but the best of luck and hope to see you in the winner's circle on Friday and Saturday.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me on, guys. I really appreciate it. And I just looked up, and yes, my brother is at Sandown tomorrow. So, and I think he's there tomorrow, and Doncaster and Sandown. Yeah, Sandown tomorrow. So he's got quite a day book, pretty much a good day of rides on the whole day. So enjoy watching him ride.
Yes, indeed. Well, hopefully, I think I actually picked him in one of my races. So, and I'm not the best international handicapper. Some might say I'm not the best domestic handicapper. But anyway, what I would suggest everybody do is have good luck at the races, and we'll see you in one of these other shows sometime soon.
Great. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Have a great night.
You too. Bye.
Bye-bye.